Hey, it's Tom Laird, host of Advice from a Call Center Geek and CEO of Expivia and AutoQA. Before we dive into the episode, a quick note. Expivia is your CX tech partner, 100% USA-based, AI-powered, and the only contact center outsourcing partner on the NICE CX1 Customer Executive Council. If you're looking for more than just agents, you're in the right place. Love to talk to you if anyone's interested in outsourcing their CX. Now let's get to the episode. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Advice from a Call Center Geek, the call center contact center podcast. We try to give you some actionable items, take back into the contact center, improve your overall quality, improve the agent experience, hopefully improve your customer experience as well. How's everybody doing? It's been a long time. It's the longest I've gone without doing an episode. This summer's been just crazy with Expivia, but also with trying to get really auto in an awesome spot. There's just been no time, and that's a shame because this is my baby. And as fall kind of starts, even though we're kind of still in the middle of summer here, I plan on getting back to these much more regularly, hopefully back to the once a week. I have a kind of a backlog of content that I want to get into as well. So, but this kind of spurred me yesterday. And as I'm recording this, it's the 5th of August in 2025. It's probably going to be the largest, or at least in the top 3 most viewed LinkedIn posts that I've ever done, including video and the kind of the text version post of it. And that's talking about the brand new Keep Call Centers in America Act that was just kind of put out there and introduced. It's the official name of it is the Keep Call Centers in America Act of 2025. It was introduced on July 30th, so a couple days ago, but it really just started to kind of funnel out really after the weekend. And it was introduced in a bipartisan way, which we never see anymore, by Senator Ruben Gallego of Arizona and Jim Justice of West Virginia. And I think that makes sense. West Virginia has a pretty heavy domestic contact center operation. And also, if you talk about Phoenix and you talk about Arizona, they have a very large USA contact center presence as well. So again, what does this bill do? And again, I want to talk about this for real. So nobody panic right now, right? For what I'm about to get into, especially if you're an offshore contact center, relax. Like we're going to keep it real. Like I'm not going to get crazy here, but I think we got to lay the kind of the groundwork of what this actually says. So again, this is a bipartisan bill that's aimed at stopping offshoring, right? And also probably trying to onshore or reshore, and also stopping kind of the over automation. And there's kind of a transparency piece too with AI, which I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But again, it's basically targeting both where work is done in the call center and contact center and kind of how it's done as well. So let's talk about what this would actually do. So a company that is offshoring contact center work, and that includes, and I looked in the bill, email, chat, like all of those functions, and I believe it's up to 30% of their business with that. Yeah, they must give 120-day. I'm just looking at my notes here. They must give 120-day notice to the Department of Labor before offshoring. They must report if shifting out 30% or more of their customer service jobs, or using a partner to do that. Right, so it's not just them; it's the BPOs in the Philippines, in India, in South Africa, and wherever, not in America. Violators will face fines of $10,000 per day. The Department of Labor will publish I call it kind of like just a list here of companies who offshore. They'll stay on that list for 5 years. So the companies on that list are barred from federal grants. They're ineligible for federally backed loans, which covers about 75% of all U.S. commercial loans. And they can lose access to existing awards as well. So the other thing is you can't take a loan or, let's just keep it there. You can't take a loan now and then offshore later, because then there's clawbacks. So they can come back after that money too. So it's kind of teethy. The transparency deal is, so let's just summarize that quickly. So that basically says all companies will have to go put their kind of name and their company, fill out a form for the Department of Labor saying, hey, we're doing this. And then they will be on that list for 5 years. They will basically be ineligible for any type of federal backed loans, grants. And then as we get into this too, we'll talk about federal work. They will be, I don't want to say barred because it doesn't say barred, but it basically says that all U.S. contact centers they'll give kind of special treatment in the awarding of federal contracts, which I think makes sense. I'm cool with that. All right. The transparency piece of this, right? Agents must disclose their physical location to customers upon request, right? So how many times have you heard that before? Oh, I'm in Kansas. My name is Tom, right? Trying to kind of get a little bit away from that. They have to also disclose, when AI is being used. And the other thing is, so disclose, right? So up front, when they first talk, inbound and outbound, hey, this is an AI bot. And then give the option to be transferred to a USA representative as well, which some states actually do that. But now it will be kind of like the across the board. So if you don't want to talk to somebody who's in, Pakistan or India or South Africa, and you want to talk to an American agent, you have to be given that option. And the same thing when it comes to AI, right? You can talk to the AI, or you have to give the option to a USA rep, not a human, but a human USA rep, right? And again, getting into that federal work, right? All call center work under a federal contract must be performed inside the United States. That should still be there. I mean, no matter what this. And then no federal contacts allowed for offshore or AI only shops, which is, we'll see how long that lasts, but that's kind of where we are now. The Department of Labor will track and report AI job losses in the contact center space. We'll also audit how much of federal customer service is offshored. So there's kind of just that reporting aspect. Who supports this? Who doesn't support it? Again, the USA contact centers, like me, I support it. I mean, I know most of the offshore guys don't. And I have a lot of BPO friends that have both, right? Onshore, nearshore, offshore. Most of them are not for this as well, because most of that is shifting, right? Offshore, nearshore. But it is backed by a couple of labor unions. One specifically is the Communication Workers of America. They've been pushing for a lot of stuff for a lot of years with very minimal success, but still they came out with a statement on this that was very, very, very supportive. I think you get when you start talking about Fortune 500, Fortune 100, Fortune 50, Fortune 5 companies that have massive offshore, footprints, I think that's where you'll get a lot of pushback here. So there have been bills like this, and kind of doing research for this. There have been bills like this over the last 20 years that have come and they've gone. Nothing has really come about with them. In 2000, I believe 15, 16, don't quote my date on that, there was a Democratic bill that had about 16, 17 senators that were for it. The Republican side was actually kind of against this. I think we've seen a shift now, though, of American and workers and coming back onshore on the Republican side. So maybe this has a little bit more teeth. Most of those senators are still there. So we'll see. But let's talk about, where this thing is. All right. So again, just to quickly summarize, again, you put your name on a list. You're basically on that list for 5 years. You can't get any federal loans. You can't get, if you don't sign up, it's $10,000 a day. You're basically not going to get any type of federal government programs either, especially if you're a BPO, right? Which I know that's a big deal because, again, you have a teleperformance. You have these giant BPOs that have huge onshore, huge offshore, huge nearshore presences. We'll have to see how that math all works out. But, I think that could be a huge deal for them. But, I mean, here's the honesty of this thing. Is it still really early? Things like this have come, right? A lot of these types of bills have come. I think the AI piece maybe gives it a little bit more bite. But it's not even been into a committee yet, right? There have been no hearings on it. It's absolutely brand new. I think it's 50% that it even gets to a committee hearing, maybe 30% that it comes out of committee, and then it goes lower than that for the Senate and then also the House to kind of pass this in its current form, right? if it did, I mean, it's going to trigger a massive wave of reshoring, but it's also going to do a massive, massive adoption of AI, which I don't think is that bad of a thing either, especially if that AI has to be done here in the States. Because again, a BPO in the USA BPOs that are AI forward, like Expivia, like us, like that would be a godsend. But there are a ton of seats offshore, right? And again, I think it would have massive disruption, but I think we'd kind of figure that stuff out. But I have had a lot of friends that have said, listen, the wait times will get worse, customer service will get worse. There's not enough heads here in the States. Hours will get cut because of just the cost. They couldn't keep it 24/7. And I think there would be, if this thing even goes, there'd be carve outs for that. I'm sure there'd be carve outs for after hours and those types of things and percentages. I don't think that this thing will get very far. But what I do think is that it's laying the groundwork for kind of a giant AI bill that will be coming in the next year or so. And I think you're going to start to see, as they push some of these things and kind of pull on some of these things, what's popular, what's not. And you're going to start to see that, I think, in that bill. So, things like, I think 100% you're going to see from the government having to say if you're an AI bot or not. And again, people can argue on that, but I think that may stay, right, in some form, in some bill somewhere down the road. I think having the option to maybe talk to a USA representative, that could possibly stay, which would still be allow offshoring to happen in its kind of deal, but still bring a lot more jobs back to the United States as well. I think that could be kind of a middle compromise, right, with this thing. But I think the AI piece, and again, there's kind of a clash here too with the TCPA, right? And that's kind of going to be another thing that's going to get confusing, and there's going to have to be some of that, kind of cross of what is what, and giving definitions, right, of kind of what AI. Now, I know the TCPA has just come out probably about 2 years ago with, saying that an AI bot is basically a robobot, right? A robot or robocall. Sorry, it's early in the morning here. So if you use AI to make outbound calls without, permission, then you're in violation of you're basically using a robocall, right? So there's some of those definitions that are going to come into play with how AI is being utilized. And maybe there is a carve out too, that a lot of this AI has to be done here in the States. Again, that's kind of a middle ground type thing. So we push AI adoption here in the States, but still allow a lot of those companies that are using offshore resources to continue to utilize them. This is pretty heavy handed. And I think that there's a middle ground that could happen here, but I don't see this bill in its kind of current form passing. This will be something that is, I think they're putting out there again, like I said, to be kind of pulled on, to have people discuss, people talk about, take out some of those pieces, and then that will end up into a giant kind of AI bill that you're going to see in the next year or so, which I think could be still good for USA contact center outsourcers, BPOs, USA contact center agents, but doesn't absolutely crush, the nearshore, offshore markets and all of the seats that are utilized there. So again, go on my LinkedIn. There's a huge discussion happening on it. 99% of the discussion has been awesome. And it's been a real back and forth. And I think the really good thoughts of kind of what this could mean, but don't panic yet, especially you're an offshore or you're BPO. While I would love to see this selfishly, I think for the good of the market, it probably is not a great bill in its current form. And, we'll kind of see how this all plays out. But again, it's kind of good to get back. Just want to do a quick one today, talk about this since it was such a hot button item. I think there's like 40,000 views in less than 24 hours on that post that I have on LinkedIn. So, kind of just give some more thoughts on how I see this thing going and trying to be real with it as well. Where I would love to see it, but again, understanding that it's pretty crazy in its current form. So again, I'm going to really try, guys, to get back to the weekly schedule. I'll miss all the conversations, and I do have a backlog of a lot of content that I want to kind of get out now. So again, thank you guys for joining, and love to hear more discussion on this if you guys have any thoughts.